Greetings, friends. I am given the task of sharing on the law of design. How many have read this book? Can we have the first slide so that we confirm which book we are talking about? John Maxwell, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Who is actually reading it? Yes, I see not everybody is. We are in agreement here, and God help us that we agree. So today we are talking about the law of design. Again, guys, get this book and read it for yourself, not for the big service. So we are talking about laws. There are 15 principles that John Maxwell is sharing with us. Today I want to introduce you to John Maxwell a little bit more. So let me stick to, you see, I didn't even bring notes so that I can try and govern myself, and we have a few more moments. So let's go. So to maximize growth, you have to develop strategies. Now, I personally changed the word to word systems because I want to focus on the word systems. We've just returned from a 3-night retreat, which completely changed my life. I tell you, this is a phrase we use a lot. Oh, my life is not the same. But guys, literally, we were 15 of us, none of us came back the same. And I want to share one of the key reasons why we changed. So after the retreat, I come and I begin to prepare the law of design. And the things we were doing in the retreat are the very same things John Maxwell is speaking about. This is something God is saying to us as a church, as a family. So let me plod through. The second slide, please. So this is the law of design. To reach your full, sorry, there's an R missing there. To reach your full potential as a person, you have to design. Everybody say design. You have to design and install a system or systems of study, organizing your time, organizing your work, organizing your space, organizing your money, and organizing every area of your life so that everything that you do works increasingly like clockwork. Every day, every week, every month, and every year. Can we read it together? 1, 2, 3, go. To reach your full person, you have okay, let's start again. I'm just realizing because I typed this at around midnight, so I realized there are a few weird things. 1, 2, 3, go. To reach your full potential as a person, you have to design and install a system of study and organizing your time, your work, your space, your money, and every area of your life. My eyes have gone. So that everything that you do works increasingly like clockwork. Every day, every week, every month, and every year. Somebody says Selah. Now, this is at the bottom of why we are not doing well. Now ask your neighbor, can you answer to the law of design? Is your life answering to the law of design yet? Let me break this down. According to the law of design, Pastor Lincoln, to reach his full potential, now you can create results and actually be comfortable. But that does not mean you've reached your full potential. To reach your full potential as a person, you have to design. Everybody say design. Now, how many know design does not happen by chance? No. You have to design and then install a system of 1, study, 2, organizing your time. 3, organizing your work. 3, organizing your space, organizing your money, and every area of your life so that everything, somebody say everything, everything that you do works increasingly like clockwork. Not once in a while, every day, every week, and every year. When I wrote this statement, I even had to run downstairs and get a glass of water. Let me tell you, friends, the difference between the richest people in the world and the poorest is the word systems. We'll see. Let's go to the next slide. So again, I try and leave time for questions. Some of us have well-developed habits of order, structure, and organization. Others tend to be random, haphazard, and spontaneous. People who are orderly achieve way more and do far better than random, spontaneous people. Now ask your neighbor, which version are you of those two? Some of us have at this time, and I'm waking up at 62 to realize a lot of my life is random. A lot of my life is spontaneous. I like to go with the flow. You can wake up and you work your day as you go along. And anything can happen. You know? And you feel like your life is okay. You have your job and you're getting by. But everything is random. Now, there are some people who are naturally structured and organized by temperament, almost by birth. And some of us are a little more random. We don't all have to fall in exactly the same bracket, but all of us need to establish systems. Somebody says systems. Now, I forgot to write down the acronym systems because they say systems do what? Save you stress, time, effort, and money. When you set up a system, it saves you stress, time, effort, and money. Without systems, you will have stress in your life. Without systems, you will waste a lot of time. Without systems, you sweat more and work harder and push too much. And without systems, you waste a lot of money. Next slide. I'm trying to read from afar and I'm realizing. John C. Maxwell. Can we talk about John C. Maxwell? Because we've been talking about this book and still we haven't read it. I notice many hands haven't gone up. And that is part of the issue I want to address here. So, John Maxwell's net worth at the moment is $10 million. And seriously speaking, he is just a pastor. And he hasn't robbed anyone. He has made his money. He didn't inherit it, he made the money himself. He's worth 10 million. How? Through writing, through public speaking, and leading as a leadership coach, doing coaching work. Mainly, these are his 3 main areas: leadership development, public speaking, writing, and he was a pastor before. He has started multiple world-reaching organizations. Many of them turn around millions of pounds. He advises 4 Fortune 500 companies, and he speaks to governments and government leaders. He was like one of us. Why is it that some people do so well and others don't? And let's do a case study because now we are looking at John C. Maxwell. And we have the privilege of his book. In his book, the 15 principles that we are reading, he has told you how he got there. He is actually telling us. So it is actually criminal for us to not read the book if it has been made available. I'm going to show you his journey a bit. May redeem the time. Next slide. How did he get there? He learned early while he was a pastor that personal growth is the key, not just goal setting. We make the mistake of thinking if I set goals, something will happen. No, if you set goals and grow, then you will reach your goals. The problem is we set goals and remain the same. And then the goals stand there and look at us. They remain on our walls, they remain on our charts, and they take longer and longer because your goals can only come to pass as quickly as you are growing. That's why we are looking at laws of growth, not laws of money. Money runs away from people who don't grow. Businesses die. Do you know that out of 100 businesses started, how many die in the first 3 years? You know the statistic? 75 to 80% of businesses that are started shut down in 3 years, in this country at least. Why? Why do they fail? Why do businesses fail to work? Why do only 20% work? Well, that's what we're talking about today. And so he learned early that he has to grow, not just dream. Most of us dream, but we are not growing. We dream more than we grow. And so nothing happens. Growth is the key. And now we are looking at the law of designing, and I'm going to go deeper into it. So he learned early enough that growth is the key, not dreaming or goal setting, not even prayer. If you pray and don't grow, you cancel your prayer. So what did he do? He invested a month's salary, which was $799 at that time. He invested his pastor's salary into a package, a training program, which cost him that amount, $799. How much have you invested in a growth program? I'm not talking about a course, in a professional course. I'm talking about growth. How to grow as a person. You know, normally, those are the things we don't want to pay for. We will pay for courses. We will pay for the courses, other courses, degrees, and then we don't invest in growth. Well, his wife took on extra work to ensure they pay for this package. After doing that package, he then designed, everybody said design. He designed a system, or he designed systems of organizing his life for consistent growth from what he learned. In about 10 years, he had become a millionaire. So he did not become a millionaire because he got lucky, or because he got a job, or because he prayed hard. He did all those things, but he invested in growth. He did a growth course, took the course, and designed systems, which in 10 years made him a multi-millionaire. And in the book, he is telling you what the 15 things are. Have you read the book? Are you reading the book? Or, after you've read it, will you turn it into systems? Or will you, like most people, put it back in a shelf and return to your normal existence? This is the serious stuff we faced this weekend when we were away. We were put to task by a coach. How many hours did you sleep here at this weekend? We were away 3 nights. 3 hours. We were stretched to the core. We were told to hand in 4 assignments every day. We read 3 books. We watched 3 movies. And we attended about 5 seminars, 8, 7 seminars. And each one you had to report to, write an article, submit. The submissions were by 6 p.m. and by 7 a.m. So you were working all day and all night. Out of the system we were doing this weekend, the guy who designed it created 200. Are you hearing me? Don't be true. He created 200 millionaires in 3 years. He created 200 millionaires in 3 years through the system we went through this weekend. He created those millionaires in Ukraine and Russia. And he was a Nigerian man. Through his teaching, he was leading 1 million people. 99% of them were white, Russians and Ukrainians. And he's a Nigerian with an accent. Please hear and understand. So we're talking John Maxwell. So the path John Maxwell, what does he do? These are some of the things he does. He thoroughly reviews his entire year, every end of year, and he says he reviews 365 days and plans for the next year. He says he does this every December, just after Christmas, from Boxing Day. He sits down in his office and goes back in his diary and starts January 1st, what did I do? January 2nd, what did I do? January 3rd, he goes through his diary. Appointment by appointment, activity by activity. Who did I talk to? What did I do? Was it worth it? He spends and combs it through, day by day, hour by hour. Where did I go? Who did I speak to? He reminds himself where he's been. He says he covers 365 days. It's a system he's set up. And he has been doing it for years, for decades. And so every year, he reviews his year, and he decides, as he's reviewing his diary, whom to avoid the following year. And whom to meet again. And he reminds himself what decisions he made, what things he needs to follow through. He combs through the past year. And then it inspires what he puts in his diary for the following year. He does that every year. I'm telling you, how did he become a millionaire in 10 years? I look at my life, and I'm not terrible at planning, but for me, even yesterday is like, whoever wasted my time can come back 3 times the following year. The people I lent money and they didn't pay, I will lend them again this year. You understand? This is serious, friends. He says he tries to read. He reads. He tries to read 4 books a month. 4 books a month. Now, of course, if you have a 9 to 5, this is his 9 to 5, so his whole life is free for him. So I'm not saying you will manage, but he says he reads 4 books a month. That means he reads 1 book a week. He says 2 books he reads through quickly. They're quick browsers. And we learned again during our retreat, talking to Pastor Hassan, who came and took us to a retreat. This generation will be judged worse than ever. Because now we don't even have to sit and read. We can audio. And while you're washing dishes, you're listening to a book. And what blew our minds was Pastor Hassan said he listens to books at twice the speed. So when he played it back, it sounds like, that's the speed at which he hears books. And in 2 hours, the book is finished. And so he has been adjusting the speed of how he hears a book and his brain now can hear. For us, it is slow down. I can't hear you. No, for him now, he reads books at twice the speed. So he started at speed 1, then it went to 1.2, then 1.5, 1.8. Now he's at 2 speed. So Pastor Hassan was telling us he reads a book a week. Then John Maxwell listens to planned audios in his cars. They are not random. He plans his listening before he sets off. And so when he sits, he's not just listening to rock FM and banging his head. He's listening to targeted audio. And he says he handpicks. In fact, when he did this, he was listening to CDs. He says, if a CD does not work in the first minute, it's ejected, and another one is put in. If it's not worth his time, he will not read it. He won't listen to it. So he plans his audios. He gathers quotes out of every book and magazine and files them by title. Now, this blew my mind, because he says when he reads a magazine and sees a good article, he tears it out immediately, writes at the top what the subject is, and it is filed alphabetically. How to be a millionaire in 10 years. Structure. He's set up structures. Now, the next page will help us understand a little better. So he gathers quotes. Now, so what does he do? He has a system for thinking. For him, thinking is not a random act. So he says he has a page where he writes the things to think about. And so he says, while he is doing, like when he's doing exercise, he is thinking. And the thinking is not random, it is handpicked. He decides, today I'm thinking about kindness, or the subject of money, or the subject, and he files these thoughts clearly, and he picks 2 per day. He says, when I am doing random time, today I'm thinking about this. So he has a system for thinking. He also has a system for writing books. And he has written, I'm trying to remember how many books, somebody Google it quickly, how many books has John C. Maxwell written? His books, by the way, he said he just woke up one day and said, I'm going to start writing. And the problem was he had never written a book before. And he said, I'm going to start writing. So he put a system down to write books. From what I remember, he said he has sold 25 million copies of his books since he started writing. That alone makes him a millionaire. But he put a system down to write books. I want to leave time at the end for us to talk. So, who here has thought of writing a book like me? For him, he says, why haven't you written it? He actually has a problem with you and me. He says, if you've said I want to write a book, then write it. Write it. Just do it. He has a system for planning his day. He has a system for waiting in queues. This is chapter 3. I was about to say, ask your neighbor, in which year? I was about to say, ask your neighbor, in which year will you be? So when he's queuing, he says, when he goes with somebody to a situation where they are queuing, say for tickets, he says he has a system. He tells his friend, queue in that one, I queue in this one. Whoever gets there first calls the other. So that miss the first. Even he has a system for well-being, because he talks about how he neglected his health and got a heart attack. And so now he has a system of exercises. When does he do what, for how long? And how does he look after? Everything runs on a system. Somebody says system. What does a system do? It saves you stress, time, effort, and money. You need to design it and then set it up. You will never be richer than your capacity to create systems. Show you a couple more slides, and then we can have some questions. What is a system? An arrangement of many putting to certain ideas and principles and processes to produce a particular result. It's just an arrangement. One, digest, nervous system. Do you understand? Do you understand you are a collection of systems? Now, when your system goes wrong, what do we call you? Sick. Something goes wrong with your digestive system. Something goes wrong with your circulatory system. We quickly call the doctor. Now, moving away from the human body, about your life and how you what to do with this thing you have just done. And say, oh my God, what do I do with this one? Do I go with the flow? No, it needs to rely on a structure and processes that are repetitive, routine, regular, and it's not about, the digestive system doesn't say, today I don't feel motivated, today I'm bored. No, it has to get up and do what it has to do. So it's not about mood or preference, it's about duty, it's about order, it's about structure, it's about repetition. No church goes far without systems that work. And we declared that at the beginning of this year, we are setting up systems at LCF. Now, guess what happens when unsystemized people try to set up systems in the organizations they run? It becomes an uphill journey because none of you are systematic, yet you are trying to set up systems. And so you keep bumping against a ceiling and coming back down. We rebuke it in Jesus' name. We need to get somewhere. Okay. 1% of the population control the world by establishing systems. This is statistical. 1% of the world is running us all. Why? They create systems and sell them to us. I see people pointing the phone at me. Do you know your telephone is a system? It was set up initially by a company called Apple, and then Android copied it. I'm sorry, Android users. But telephones are systems. The richest companies in the world are system designers. And we buy systems. We pay for system creators because systems make life easy and grant you success. I want to suggest to you here, the mess in your life is a system mess. What's limiting your success is a lack of systems. Thinking systems, emotional systems, relational systems, spiritual systems. Everything in the world that is worth anything must be systemized. So 1% of the population control the world. 2% are their associates and family members. And then 5% work and support. Today I am designing systems. Yeah. Do you know even showering is a system? What happens in the shower? By the way, some of you look very suspect to me. I wonder what happens in your shower. You know, they never shower a certain part of their body. Because your hair runs on a system. Our hair, if your hair is decent, it's because you are obeying retouch systems and oilings. Let's move to the next slide. The greatest skill in the world is the skill to design systems. and build networks, and you'll be paid for it. People who know how to design, create, and market systems rule the world. If you don't have enough money, you have a systems problem. Hey. I'm trying to end this presentation. Next slide, so that we have a minute of the question. So, what a system should have, it should have a big picture in mind. Just there. Because you see, you can have a system of sleep. And that is a waste, because unless you are resting to recuperate for what you're about to do the following day. If the sleep is the big picture, then we have a problem. Priorities. Not everything has the same priority. Number 3, measurements. You should be able to tell us in grams, in liters, in days, in seconds, in lengths. Tell us what are the quantities in the system. When, by who, how many people, by. It's got to be measurements. Application. There must be action, not dreams. There must be an action point to your system. And then there's got to be order, and then finally it has to be consistent. It is not a mood issue. I don't feel like waking up today. I don't feel like going to church. It's got to be systematized. Is that it? That's the last one. Questions? Comments? Where's the mic? Brother Umalisa has something to ask or comment. I have just 5 minutes. Oh, can you give him sound man? It's a dead mic. Give him this one. Can we resurrect it? It's being woken up. Just check and see if it's woken up. Okay, good.
It was still interesting. I wish you continued.
Yes.
I'm very very grateful, like a new born again person. How far you go to fetch all these things for all of us in the church. And we still remain behind. I remained.
A little more volume.
I remained behind.
You remain behind?
And I'm asking myself, do these people have a life to lead?
Exactly.
Do they have families?
Yeah.
Church. What else do they do other than following, writing, and preparing? And
Now,
I have been a leader.
That's a beautiful question.
I've been a director general, and I know how much it takes. And when you bring all that, I'm left amused, wondering, where have I gone wrong? Is it too late? Thank you.
Thank you. And to answer very quickly, the first thing in John Maxwell's diary is his family. The first priority is family. When he's reviewing the year, he's saying, one of the things that struck me is he says, how much time did I spend with my children? How much time did I spend with my wife? This is what he actually said. He reviews where they went out the whole year. Yeah? And then he takes her out on a date to talk about what they did last year. And I thought, Jesus of Nazareth, I need the blood right there. But for him, she is part of the system. She is the center of the system. The family is the center of the system. And so, it's just that, as we are saying, you need to look at your own life. But for him, he says the first item in priorities, as we saw them, is the family. And is God, because he's a born-again man. Yeah. Yeah, and like you're saying, we are all realizing we are late. Nobody told us we are part of the 92. Show that slide again. No one told us that there is the 1% and what do they do? Another question?
I have a compliment, something to add. Pastor, what you've talked about are some of the things I work with most of my working life.
That mic is not working too well.
It's systems that makes people who they are.
Yeah.
And in economics, they call it behavioral economics. How you behave, how you set yourself up, is what makes you who you are. For instance, countries in the Middle East realized that oil would run out at some stage, and they set up a system to make rich people out of nothing. Because the Middle East, Dubai, the UAE, was a desert. Nothing. Just some towns and cities and oil refining villages. So they say, let's build ourselves like in the Tower of Babel. Let's build ourselves cities and towns and tourist attractions. Let's make our own citizens wealthy. Those people were made artificially wealthy. They sent children here to study and become something that they couldn't do in their country. So they make an artificial wealthy group of people so that there is wealth moving around in the country.
Sure.
So it's behavior that makes people rich. Nothing else. Systemized behavior.
Structured.
Yeah.
Orderly.
Yeah.
And it's designed. It's not random.
Yeah.
And it must be consistent and repeatable.
You wake up believing that you are rich. That's what they did in the Middle East. We are rich, we are a rich country, even when they were a desert with nothing. Importing 95% of all things that they have. But they...
month, I have a retreat. So I don't know how your prayer system is, but I think that if we don't have a prayer system, we've already started on a negative.
I tell you what, as I close, you know, we are trying to do missional discipleship. We're trying to do missional discipleship. Guys, we have Zoomcast. Guys, MC leaders, where are you? Please show up in time. People walking in late, people absent, people not communicating, people not answering WhatsApp messages. We are a symptom of poverty. Guys, what we are exhibiting is a lack of systems. If by now you don't know what bus you must get in to get here before 11 o'clock, you are poor. Even if I gave you. Do you know people who win the lottery are back to poverty in 10 years? Why? They did not create a system to get the money. So they lose it in 10 years. Systems, systems, systems. In Jesus' name, I don't know what's happening next week, Irene, but we need to sit on the floor as a community and wake up to the fact that we are bankrupt of systems in our personal lives and then in our collective life. Then we must start designing them. You sweat it on your own, week by week, month by month. God willing, by around June next year, you will be ready for success. You and I will be.